For 7 years, I've walked the corridors of the Bedford County Jail, not as a guard, not as a prosecutor, but as someone called to minister to men, women, and juveniles caught in the revolving door of incarceration. I've sat beside those who have lost everything: homes, family, dignity, and hope. I've witnessed the same names returning again and again, caught in a cycle most of us never see, but everyone feels in our community. This isn't just anecdote. Across Tennessee and the country, recidivism is a systemic crisis. In Shelby County's jails, a much larger urban system than ours, nearly 80% of inmates are repeat offenders, and almost half have been incarcerated 6 or more times. These staggering figures show the overwhelming difficulty people face in breaking out of old patterns without effective, long-term support. But read carefully. This isn't about blame. It's about systems and what happens when systems fail to shepherd people into stability. We support MRT, but aftercare is the weak link. One of the strongest programs we've worked with inside the Bedford County Jail is Moral Recognition Therapy, MRT, a structured cognitive behavioral curriculum that challenges inmates to examine the root causes of their decisions and build healthier reasoning and moral frameworks. We've celebrated graduations, tears, breakthroughs, and testimonies of transformation. In fact, the program has seen remarkable results. Of about 100 participants, only 5 had been rearrested after completing the program. That's powerful. That's evidence that people can change when given the tools to do so. But here's the crux. MRT changes minds, but it does not automatically change life circumstances after release. Once they walk out the jail doors, the real test begins. Without housing, employment, community support, health care, transportation, or a stable environment, all the progress from MRT can unravel quickly. They leave with hope, but they enter a world with barriers built to break them. The real wall: aftercare and stability. In Tennessee, recidivism rates have hovered at around 46% within 3 years for those released from incarceration, largely because reentry systems struggle to meet people at the exact point where they are most vulnerable. You can teach someone new thinking inside prison, but if they walk out with no home, no job, no community, and no continuity of care, the odds are stacked against them. In other places, organizations focused on reentry have shown that offering housing and employment guidance dramatically improves outcomes. But in Bedford County and many rural communities like ours, there simply are not enough structured, stable places for people to land. Why this matters for our town: when someone comes out of jail with nowhere to go, they sleep in cars, doorways, or on a friend's couch. They return to neighborhoods that reinforce old patterns. They struggle to pass background checks for housing and jobs. They relapse into substance use without recovery support. And then, too often, they are arrested again. They overdose. They return to jail. This is not justice. This is a loop. And for every person caught in that loop, our town carries the cost, socially, economically, and spiritually. Homelessness and overdoses are part of the same spiral. Lack of stable housing isn't just a social issue. It's a public health and public safety issue. People without a stable address lose continuity with medical care, struggle with addiction support, miss court dates, probation meetings, or employment opportunities. The result? Higher risk of overdoses, of relapse, and of jumping right back into criminalized survival behaviors. Stability is not a luxury. It's a life-saving intervention. How we can truly end homelessness and reduce repeat offenders. It begins with a paradigm shift. 1. Move from crisis response to long-term stability. Emergency shelters are vital, but they are only a stopgap. Real impact comes from housing that is permanent, structured, and supportive, where people can rebuild life, not just survive night to night. 2. Expand continuity of care after release. Programs like MRT change thinking, but aftercare must continue that change in the community through housing support, employment training, addiction recovery, and relational community networks. 3. Partner criminal justice, public health, and community. Police, jail programs, healthcare providers, churches, nonprofits, and public officials must work in collaboration, not isolation. 4. Build housing with healing and support. Shelbyville's tiny town is housing with intentional community and support, and is exactly this kind of bridge. It's not temporary, it's a pathway to permanent housing that roots transformation in stability. Because here's the truth, people do want to change, they want to work, they want to stay sober, they want to be loved. But without stability, all the best intentions fall through the cracks. My call to the community: we can reduce overdoses. We can end cycles of repeat offending. We can end homelessness in our town. Not with more incarceration, not with more cycles, but with homes, hope, and holy community. This is not naive, it is strategic. It is evidence informed, and it is what our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, deserve. I'm Tommy Donegan, pastor of the Recovery Tabernacle and lifetime resident of Bedford County. Join me and my wife Michelle as we provide hope in the gospel to the lost.